Hi and welcome to this week's video. In this video, start closing up the back end and I finish off the ply sections for the upper stringers. So join me and see how I do it. Right, carrying on from last week's video, I'm just going to clean up a little bit. There's a little bit of glue there. It's just squeezed out the edges, just a little bit. Just going to get rid of that. That's a lot. Already cleaned down some of this at the front. I've made up the ply so that it nests in quite nicely there, and it's flush with the leading edge. Oops. So it's sort of fits in level with the leading edge there, and fits in, tucks in, so it's level at the back end here. So I'm just going to sand to make sure we haven't got any sort of bumps of glue anywhere. And I'm going to glue this side on, clamp it, and then we'll varnish the hole inside and put the other side on. Well, there's the first skin clamped into place. As you can see, I use clear plastic, 2mm or 3mm plastic, depending on what I've got, clear to clamp, because it makes it nice and level with the underlying structure where I've got recessed. Now, as the glue squeeze out to happen, these just ping off afterwards when the glue's cured. And you've got very little sanding. It just makes sure that the plywood is dead level with the surrounding structure, which is nice. As you can see, there's excess going along the top there. That'll be, I'll just use an edging router just to clear most of that, and then just sand the remainder. Just easy to have it a little bit oversized and trying to get everything all fiddled around perfect sizing. And then you can probably see there's 3 blocks been added to each side. There may well be another one back here. I've yet to confirm that. There'll need to be front couple here will need to be rounded in slightly so that it conforms with the contour of the aluminium that will go along there, the closing panel. Good chunk of work needed to get that bit right. So these will just be rounded. The idea is that they'll support the panel, although I'll have it come down here about a quarter of an inch, or just like less than a quarter of an inch, with a very slight bevel on the edge, so it's got some good support all the way. But it gets cut away where the tailplane is, horizontal stabilizer, and because it's cut away, it can chatter and vibrate. So having these blocks in will stop that and give me something to put the screws into. Typical Fisher format, the screws would actually be normal wood screws going into either the structural components here or the longerons. They don't make any provision, or don't show any provision for it to go into anything else. So a bit of an algae mod. Well, while this lot's all curing, I thought I'd have a look at the stringer side of things for the side of the fuselage. I'm on the drawings as 3 stringers, 2 full-length stringers and a little short dumpy bit to go at the bottom by the wing root, but there's no real detail given in the instructions about the stringers. On the plan, it just shows the position, and in the instructions it says, the height to measure down for the various bits, produce a chalk line on the side and install the top and middle stringers as per the drawing, but the drawing just shows that position. It doesn't show any detail how they should go. Now this stringer material is quite chunky. We're talking 1.25 inches by 1/4, which is quite beefy material. And if this will, I've already tried this twice now, and I find it mildly frustrating trying to clamp it, but I'll endeavour. So with the stringer up in place there, roughly straight, it's not on the line, but as soon as I try to bend it, you can see what happens. It turns into a serpent, and everything falls to pieces. So plan, something I haven't got a routing table or anything like that, but my plan is, when you look at the size of this material, it's extremely thick. It doesn't need to be quite that wide. So I'm going to go 2/3 the way across the width here and machine in sections, hopefully on a routing table or some format that I can set up with my router, and go in and at a ratio of gap of 3 to glue joint of 1, all the way down. So it'd probably be sort of 1.5 inches of glue spot to 4.5 inches of groove cut out. That should give me enough flex, should give enough bond area. And once I've drawn the line on the fuselage side where the string is going to go, I will work out exactly where the glue sections are, and every second or third one of those I'll put a piece of triangular section in to help keep the stringer from trying to twist one way or the other, and give it that bit of extra bond area. So it'll probably be every third one. So I've got something to clamp to, and I can run front to rear. I'm also going to taper the back end of the stringer, probably for about 2.5 feet or so, maybe 3 feet, and at the front end for about 18 inches. So it tapers in nicely front and rear, without having a hard stop just where the cowl line is. It might look a little bit strange. So that's my idea. I'm just going to taper it in at the front and rear, and that will also allow for a little bit of flex. And then I'll work out where these sort of scallops are going to be taken out. As I said, about 2/3 the width, so nearly, well, I'd say about 3/4 of an inch, maybe, just over 3/4 of an inch, 7/8, something like that. So we've got a nice sort of 3/8 piece. That should be good enough for the purpose that we have. It doesn't need to be supported any more than that. So the wing ribs aren't as big as that, so the capping pieces, so they've got longer sections without any issue. So that's my plan. Not going to get round to that this week, I don't think. I might work out the method and get round to it this week. Right then, well, while we wait for various bits, I've just put the piece of ply on the top here. This is a ply that's supplied. Goes back a fair chunk. Nice, good support. It's important to have good support here because of the nature of impacts and stiffness and things like that. We need people putting their hands on the top and that getting in and out sometimes. So what I've done is, you can sort of see, I've clamped it around at the back a bit, and I've got it bungeed down at the front here. So I'm just going to draw around. This is exactly what I did for the rear one, and because of the angles and things like that, we end up with a bit of a crescent. So so now I've drawn that, I can take I can take this off and I'll use the compass and I'll mark going around the width, which will be slightly less than we've got at the top here, just so I've got something to cut all the way down, because it's quite wide here because it's hardly taking anything off, taking the most off. So whatever that width is up there, I'll probably subtract an eighth of an inch or so, make the arc so it'll curve accordingly for that. So we'll end up sort of cutting from there more into here, and once I've done that I can then mark the stringers, so we can sand the stringers literally like you could see in last week's video. Link just there if you haven't seen it. There we have it. So I'll leave this bit here because when I glue it, if I've got any errors and bits and pieces, it's not too much of a hassle. I can just take this edge off, flush with the bulkhead, and all will be great. So centre line's marked, that's sorted there, and we're ready now to just put this into position so I can mark the stringers. Well, with this clamped in place, the bungee holding it in place at the front, it's an easy job just to go around marking the stringers where the ply meets, and marking the fuselage side, because I'll do the same as I did at the other end. Well, here's the lower rib in place, marked up here, here and here for the blocks, so I know where the screws go through. I've varnished the inside of this section with 3 coats, and this cover plate here I masked off where the wood was going to go, gave this 3 coats, and then any area that was exposed when I glued it on, I made sure the resin went over so it went onto the varnish. So that's bonded into place to close off. It gives a good nice area for the covering to stick to going around. I've just lightly radiused the corners with a bit of 300 grit, wet and dry, so that's all ready to go. No, I have drilled holes in here, and there's one in the bottom and in each of these points here. 3mm. After it's been varnished, this pin's been varnished, had its 3 coats of varnish and bits and pieces, then that will they'll be just made sure that they're clear with their 2.5mm drill bit. That's to allow for the sun on the covering, heating up the air inside, trying to expand the covering so it sort of balloons, it lets that pressure out, or when you change altitude, the increase in pressure as you descend or the decrease as you go up allows that pressure to normalise throughout the covering, and to allow any water that might somehow get in through the covering to be able to drain, although drips of water won't go through 2.5mm holes just under gravity, but with the changing in pressure it will be blown through if required. So that's this end. What I'm going to do now is I've just got to round these blocks slightly to allow it to conform with the aluminium plates which I'm going to make up for either side. The front end here, this is now bonded, pretty much cured, so shortly I'll be taking the last of the clamps off and shoveling this a lot back and then scalloping it, ready for that bit of work to have been done. And then I can sand the stringers all the way along to smooth those out and just to round the corners off a little bit. I've sanded this a lot and cut it back so that it's flush with the front edge of the rear pilot's bulkhead. I've cut the scallops out going back. Some people don't quite understand what the scallops are there for, but they stop going from a sharp, well, from a curve to the flat where the covering's going to be brought tight here. it just allows that a nice transition rather than having a hard line. Now in this case, because this ply section is 7 inches from front to rear, I'll put the scallops as 1 inch deep per stringer. Where here, where it's 3.5 inches wide, I made it 1/2 inch per gap between the stringers, so it's sort of in proportion. All this does is flattened off. You can sort of see where I've gone along this edge here, literally straight up from the ply side, so that's nice and parallel and cut in there, and that makes a good line. Right then, so for this little bit of fun, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to rest a long steel rule along and draw a line straight down like that. That shows how much needs to come off to comply for the aluminium. And I'm just going to plane that a lot down with this block plane, just down to that line. With these all shaved so that they've got a clearance, I've actually used a piece of scrap ply to create a rough template that actually takes us down to the sort of required level for us to be able to create an aluminium piece. The most important area that I needed to get right was this front corner, or sort of front edge here. Make sure that sort of complies. Right, here's my template piece, and I'm just setting this up 1/4 inch from the bottom there. It's going to allow me just that little bit of space. Oops, gone too far. It'll allow me that little bit of space to just put a slight angle along the bottom to close up the edge. I'll also do the same along here after I've actually got this thing curved. I'm just now going to nice and straightforward go around the edge. Okay, so there's the basic section. I'm afraid to say some of the video didn't quite work. I've still got to just put the bevel on the bottom edge. You can sort of see the bevel just there at the leading edge, a little bit along the top. It needs a little bit more just there, hence the mark. That allows the airflow nicely going across. So I'll do the beveling along the bottom and mark where the screws need to go in here, and then once we've got that lot sorted, that'll be this side done as far as I can until I put the horizontal stabilizer on and work out exactly where I've got to do the cutout for the elevator back here and the horizontal stabilizer. But I'm calling it quits there for this week. Well, that's it for this week, folks. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I got up to. Going forward, I think in the next video we'll be finishing off these aluminium closing panels on each side. It's probably going to be about as much as I can do. There's quite a chunk of work involved with that, but we'll see how I get on. So keep well and catch you next week. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.